everyone. Welcome. Fika for Life. We're back. Woohoo! My name is Edward Thomas, and my co-host is
Linh. Hello.
And today we have a very special guest.
And we have our studio audience.
And our studio audience.
Woo!
Thank you. You can see our audience is actually really quite large here. We reduce it down to one person's voice, but there's really millions here. So, but our special guest, introduce yourself. Your name is?
My name is Vincent.
Vincent. All right.
Last name is not so important, maybe.
Yeah, sure it is.
No.
Yeah, we all want to know who you are. No, we don't. Okay, yes, we do.
Okay.
So, Vincent,
Yeah.
Today's topic is parenting.
Mhm.
Yes.
We had one episode before
Yep.
Yes.
where my husband was here and sharing his thought on parenting.
It was really exciting, insightful.
And now it's your turn to share. Maybe first question, are you a parent?
No, I'm not. Yes, I am.
That's why you invited you, because you're not a parent.
But what kind of parent are you? Are the parent who pushed the baby out or the parent who contributed to the baby?
Dude, that's an... no.
That's no one?
no.
Okay, I thought I could ask that.
Yeah.
Since no one can see our face, you know. So.
I was there.
You were
when
there.
It happened.
Yeah, me too. It was really exciting. Yeah.
I only have one child, and I have a boy. His name is Emmanuel, and he's 3 years old.
Great age.
So, I have a
He's
lot
very
of
cute.
wisdom when it comes to parenting,
I
as
know.
you can imagine.
I usually go to you. I'm like, my kids are adults, so I have to go to you to get advice.
Yeah.
Well, don't they go in circles, like they are small and then they become teenagers, then they go small again, and then
Only if you let them
eventually-
walk into the wall a couple of times and they go around in circles like that. So, you know. So- we don't recommend that. This is not advice. It's just some of us, weren't that good with parenting in the beginning. You
So
know?
Vincent,
Yeah.
you've been a parent, first-time parent, and you're going to be soon a second-time parent.
Yes. The
Right.
second one is coming anytime soon. So I might have to leave
Okay.
during the podcast.
Yeah,
Drum rope.
exactly. So, what do you think? When do you become a parent?
When do I become a parent?
Is it the
that
moment
a
of
trick
birth?
question?
No. The moment of birth. Is it something you associate before because
You
you go
answer
to
wrong.
parents' class even before the baby's born? Or is it something that you grow into? Or
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say for me, it wasn't. For me, I would say it's something that I grow into. Or when I had our first baby, I was like, I didn't really have a clue of what parenting was.
no?
I mean, you can imagine or have some thoughts of how it's supposed to be, but it's really different when you're there, I would say. And it's really hard to prepare for being a parent, I think, because it's hard to imagine how it's like. I
Yeah,
would say.
because you get a kid and you don't know who this person is.
Exactly.
Really?
No.
And you don't know how you're going to
It's
react.
my baby. I looked at the baby. I was like, it's my baby.
Yeah, but you don't know the temperament. You
Aha,
don't know,
that way.
like,
I thought you meant
Personality.
like you look and
You
I don't know whose
hopefully-
baby this is.
you hopefully like the kid. Eventually, sometimes you
Wow.
don't. But
Really?
That's the easy part.
Wait. Okay, I have a question. Have you guys ever had a situation where you didn't like your kids?
Yeah.
Really?
yes.
Yeah.
You guys are some bad people.
But let's say this: we love our kids, but
Oh, yeah.
we don't
We don't like
always like our kids.
My kids are angels. They've never done anything wrong. And so because I'm such a great dad,
You just say that because they're listening to you.
yeah, no, actually,
Like
I don't want to
now
tell the
at
truth.
the podcast.
I don't want to tell the truth about them, little monsters. No, that wasn't a cage we locked you in when you were small.
There was
No, I
a-
think it's. I don't know if I can say. For me, it wasn't that I disliked them. I just thought I went through a period where I thought each kid didn't like me.
wow.
So I was really depressed. I was I'd go around with this internal pain. It's like, oh, they don't like me now, Like I think when Jonathan, my youngest son, so I have 5 kids, and when my youngest son Jonathan was born, he was really colicky and stuff like that, and so I was rocking him and holding him, and none of the tricks that worked on Eddie, who's the firstborn, worked on Jonathan, and I was he'd look at me, he was just and do the whole "Hi, I'm possessed by the devil" kind of thing, and so I just thought he hates me. my son is rejecting me. I'm like, if I had breasts, I would feed you milk, but I don't have any. I can't do it. I can't make your day better. I can't do it. I felt like a failure as a dad. So I think I just internalized everything. I was really bad like that.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Like
I was really
not really mature, man.
I was mature.
No.
I was like, geez. Sat in the cave for a month so I could prepare myself.
So do you guys feel any time like guilt? Like you feel guilty, like, oh, I shouldn't have done this, or I don't have enough time for my kids, or you do something and you feel like, oh, that was bad.
Mm-hmm. Basically all the time, almost.
Wow.
No, but...
Are we really going to be that honest today? Oh my gosh. We're just throwing our dirty laundry out there for everyone to see the little brown stripes in the bottom. Wow, nice. Okay.
I don't know about your laundry, but yeah, well.
Brown stripes. Oh. No, but yeah, I would say yes. I think my one of my struggles as a parent is I personally when I grew up as a kid myself, I grew up in a broken home, basically without a dad. There was a dad in the picture, but he had a lot of problems with alcohol, and he got sick. So I basically grew up without a father, more or less. And my mother struggled a lot, but she did what she could. But she had she sacrificed very, very much for me and my brothers. And I think my struggle as a parent is to what I bring into parenthood from my own childhood is it's all about sacrificing, and I think that's true. But I think there sometimes can be that I have this wrong view of sacrificing too much, or because I think it's really important as a parent to. There is some amount of sacrifice when you have a child. You cannot
do whatever you want.
Do whatever you want. No, you have to give up stuff, but there can also be an unhealthy side of that, where you stop living yourself, and I don't think that's good for no one in the family. So, yeah,
I can relate to that. Actually, just today, my mom has been with me visiting us for 3 weeks now, and she's going back to Germany next week. So she saw something, she was with us for a whole month. She lives with us, so she saw me going to Bible study or doing this podcast or going to church and so on. And today she said, why are you always gone at the weekends with church? Don't you do church a bit too much? And what about your family and stuff? And I was feeling but that's what Jonas, my husband, and me were talking before. We were really active in church before we got kids, and we had really open home, and people came to our place a lot.
I remember.
And obviously now we have a kid, so we have to scale down. But it's not. But we don't scale down in the sense of, oh, now we're a family. This is our sanctuary. You guys stay out.
I know.
So it's not how we do it. And I think for her, it's really hard because maybe it's similar experience like you, Vincent. My mom, she sacrificed a lot for us, working and putting up with my dad, who's not really nice, and a lot of things for the family, Oh, I do it for the kids. And then I think then sometimes I feel the pressure, oh, she sacrificed so much, so now I have to give something back. I have to behave well, I have to have a good reputation, so people will give credit back to her. And I think it's really hard. And I think sometimes I can see that when I have my daughter, and people would say, most of the time they would only say positive things, oh, she's so nice, blah, blah, blah. But occasionally people could say, wow, but she's really wild, or she's not behaved, or something like that. And I take it really personally. I might not show it, but I take
I won't tell you that anymore. I'm sorry.
I'm I think it's the thing that I maybe got from my parents.
Yeah.
It reflects back on you as a person if your kids, I don't know, get any negative comment.
Yeah. But it does. I think that's, and I don't know if that's inherent to the human experience, so that we, in some ways, we live through our children, and our children are a reflection of us, because
Jeez,
At least,
man.
no, I was just saying in my family, my children seem to take after every bad quality I have. My children seem to pick up on that.
Why not the good ones?
Exactly.
Yeah.
All like the fantastic things. They're like, oh no, that was boring. I want the bad stuff, And so that was like an eye opener. But then I think the whole sacrifice thing. So I think this is really interesting because all of us come from homes where our mothers have lived very sacrificially, probably in a very
Unhealthy way.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Mom, don't listen to this part. I love you. I don't know what they're talking about. But that I remember times like when my mom she would like not eat anything to make sure we had food and stuff, or like once because we were really poor, so she would get a 2-bedroom apartment. So my sister had her own room. Later on, my brother was born. Then the two of us would have our own room, and then my mom would sleep on the couch, or it'd be one room, and my sister and I would share a room, and my mom would still sleep on the couch. So, just a lot of stuff like that. And so throughout the years, she's like sacrificed. And sometimes I feel like as an adult child, I wish I could do more. Like I wish I had managed my money better. Wish I didn't work in the church because I can make a lot of money, and so I can like take care of my mom. Should be like a business of where I should have worked in the bank. I hated it, but I could have done it for her sake. But I think that also affects. So, like you were saying, Vincent, about growing up without a dad. That's one of the things that has significantly affected me, because I don't really know what a good dad, like just by experience of seeing that, I don't really know what a good dad does. So since my dad was such a deadbeat, I always feel like I'm doing a good job. And then my oldest daughter, Jessica, says, "No, you're a bad dad. You're horrible." And I'm just like,
wow, honestly.
And then I go, "Oh God, help me. I just want to crawl under the rock and turn into green mold." Just, But that's because Jessica, my oldest daughter, didn't live with us. So of the 5 kids, she's the only one that didn't live permanently with us. And so she lived with her mom. And so her experience of me is like totally different. But it makes me feel bad because I've always wanted to be a better dad than my dad. I want my children to feel loved and that I was there for them, And so Jessica's experience is totally different than Pauline and Nicole's, Eddie's, and Jonathan's experience, where I was with them every day and we would build sandcastles and stuff. And Jessica lived with her mom in the ghetto, so I don't know what this.
Oh,
yeah, well,
so
that's what
sad.
happens when you don't keep your thing inside your pants,
Well, now you're wiser, aren't you?
I don't know. I'm so old now, so nothing works. So I'm just like, who knows? I don't know if I got wiser.
So
No, I am wiser. I
So
think
if we're not talking about like passing things on to our kids, now it's not fun to talk about the negative. What about the positive? What good things can we pass on to the
Farting.
next generation?
We all fart in our house, and we all laugh at who has the worst farts. That's something that passed on to my kids. They're not as good as I am. I can kill them still. I like lay them out. Then I cry. Dad. Like,
I don't know if that's a good life skill though.
That's a good thing. You never know when you need to have that. Sometimes get rid of people who are bothering you. Okay. So to be serious again, I think one of the things about what I've discovered is that each kid has picked up on different things. So the one common factor for my kids is that they're all strong-willed. Every single one of them. I'm like crying every day because I'm like, why can't I get one of those kids that's like, "Oh, Dad, I'll just do whatever you want. You're like the center of my world."
That's
nope,
that's not
I don't get that. All
that's
my
a
kids
robot.
That's a beautiful child. You can program them, but my kids though. So because they're all strong-willed, they have a tendency to say exactly how they think, which I couldn't do when I was a kid. So that's one of the differences I think with growing up. And the other thing is that I've tried to support them in whatever they've done secretly. I want all my children to pursue highly academic careers. I want them to be good in math and science, and that we could talk about nerdy things all the time. And all of my children have taken
The artsy
aesthetic
way.
things. They're dancers. They do hair, stuff like that. And it's not a bad thing. I mean, it's good that they're picked up on the creative side and stuff like that. But I've tried to support them and not trying to push my things onto them. And at the same time trying to be there for them. So So that's been like, so I don't know how you guys, because your kids are a lot smaller.
Yeah.
So you don't know what you're doing right now. You don't know how badly you're messing them up
Exactly.
until another 18 years.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh.
We don't see the fruit yet.
No, and you don't get a restart. It's like you can go to God and he's like, okay, you are so bad. I give you a second chance. Okay, we'll just wind.
Well, don't
wind
you
that
get
back.
a second kid for that?
That's why you have more children.
That's why you
The first
No,
one went well. So.
don't get better. You just get stupid. No, it's.
What about you, Vincent? What do you think you'll?
I'm passing on the good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I have a relationship with God. As I said before the podcast to you, Lynn, I became a Christian when I was 19, and when I was, it took some years for me to start like a process of healing and stuff from my childhood. But I remember when I started to pray more into that, and I also got more like aware of this, how my childhood had affected me and what it's like to grow up without a father. So I remember that I used to pray that I want God to father me, and I have to say that that's a prayer that He has answered.
Right.
He hasn't.
Really,
answered
I should
all
have
my
prayed
prayers.
that one. That's a good prayer. I never prayed that.
It's really good.
That's why I am what I am.
But since then, it's like I feel that God has shown me a lot of stuff about how He is like a father, and what it means to be a child, and done a lot of healing in my life. So I feel that I have something to pass on to my child, mostly from my relationship with God. And
Interesting.
I think that, I mean, like you, Vincent, I didn't grow up in a Christian family, and I also became a Christian when I was like 19. And I think now with Nomi, our daughter, we're really trying to give her a good start with everything. And that's why we first child syndrome. Like you're like, oh, I want to do everything. But we also put a heavy weight on like spiritual life. We're trying to teach her to pray, and I don't know if I should be like happy or a bit concerned that she's already so eager for it, but she's always like
That's
asking
great.
for Jesus. When we go through the Bible, it's like, so is Jesus. What about Moses? No, Jesus. Like, okay,
Wow.
calm down.
Wow.
We'll get to him.
Can you bottle that up? We can sell that. We'll make millions.
And I mean, before when we were praying downstairs, I wasn't there because I was doing something else. And then Gabriel said, like, no, miss, she was like already so-called like adapted to praying. So he said his son was more like, like a 3-year-old moving around, like, whoa. And she was like adapted to, okay, now we're praying, standing still, closing your eyes. So on the one hand, I'm like happy, but on the other hand, I'm like, I
But that's
hope it's not.
great.
But it's not. I hope it's not going into like the Christian soup thing.
Yeah, the bubble.
The bubble.
Bring her
I'm
to the
like,
bubble. Oh, the bubble's so
no,
nice. It's so comfortable.
no.
You get used to it.
Like Jonas, he grew up, maybe not my husband, he didn't, maybe not in the bubble, but he grew up in a Christian household, went to church and so on. And I mean, he still kept his faith, which is good. But I'm just concerned. I met too many people who are just in the bubble, and when they're adults, they stay in the bubble. And then I don't want Nomi to be in the bubble, but I also don't want her to be only with non-Christian people. So it's like,
So you want to not be a bubblehead at the same time.
yeah. So
Fine
how
faith,
do you
yeah.
do that? Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
I don't know either.
But I think, if you, so as a person who was married to someone who's not Christian, who didn't, so one of the sad points for me as a dad, one of the things I still have to struggle with is that I really wanted my children to have a Christian upbringing. Not like forcing it on them, but I wanted us to have like a family devotion. I wanted to teach them to pray for each other, and then let them see, like that we would pray, for them and their friends. That prayer was something that's really important. And for a while, I could pray with them when they went to sleep at night, but we could never seem to get a devotion thing going because it would take both parents, and I can't force faith onto my wife. So that my children didn't have a Christian upbringing. So when you guys say things like this, I just want to cry because I'm like, oh, it would be so wonderful. I mean, if my kids came home one day and said, Dad, can you just pray for me? Like, they don't have to pray, just ask me. Oh my gosh. Ooh, I feel like I'm on cloud 9. My happiness meter goes up to +10, so as long as you demonstrate it and you make it participatory for them. I think it's bad if you force.
Yeah.
So it's just always forced. It's like a burden. But I think when kids always want to participate in what their parents do. So if it's part of your life together as a couple, what happens is kids just want to know what you doing. I'm in the toilet. I used to read my Bible. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm reading my Bible because I would pray and preach to myself when I was on the toilet. So one of my practice how I prepare for sermons.
God is even there.
God is there helping me out. He's like, he's like, yes, and I'm like, okay. But the kids were like, they'd be on the other side of the door, and so one day we were doing as family charades, and they were trying to imitate each other, and so they sit down on the couch like, oh, Jesus, hallelujah, read that word right now. I'm like, maybe I am giving them a Christian upbringing. So it's but the point was that they always wanted to participate in the things that they saw you doing in front of them, and they weren't really so interested in the theology. They weren't really so interested in the liturgy of the church, but what they saw me doing at home.
Sure.
So when they were small, they thought it was like totally normal that Dad would like pray for people, and they thought it was more normal to pray. And then they got to the teenage thing, and then everything got destroyed. But there was but I think it's because we weren't synchronized. So I think I think having that synchronized in part of your life, I think having like that balance between having Christian friends. So I grew up with Christian friends because I was in the bubble. But that made a big difference. When I got to high school, when I got to junior high school, I still have Christian friends, other people my own age, who are also in that same boat. So that was really, really good. So I didn't have just non-Christian friends or just Christian friends. So I think that helps. So keep doing a good job. You guys are doing good, I think. You'll get there. And if not, I'll talk bad about you. It'll make you feel bad, guilty.
I don't think so.
No. But it was really interesting also, Vincent, that you took up the whole thing about one of the interesting parts of the Christian faith is not going to church, but it's how God can supplement the lack of things in your life. So you grew up without a dad. I grew up without a dad. You grew up with a mean dad. And so sometimes that being aware of that and coming to a point where God gives you insight to actually be able to ask him for help with something that you're not fully equipped to because your start in life didn't have that, and how God can complement that, and he can feel that somehow he can make that happen and stuff. I mean, it's working with the youth. So a lot of kids will say I'm like a second dad to them, and that's really weird because I didn't grow up with my father. But I think it's something in a similar way. I think it's something that God has fixed inside of me, so people see me as a father figure. Not just my kids, but other kids. Even though I didn't have the physical human role model in front of me. So
interesting.
So Vince, is there anything you want to get out there about parenting and
Christian parenting? Well, it's hard when you're all up in it, when you're a tired, beat up dad.
Exactly.
It's hard to this is my wisdom. But I work with troubled kids now. I'm a priest, but I'm not working as a priest right now. So I'm working at this home where I meet a lot of kids who had even a lot worse childhood than I had. And it's just interesting meeting them. And I think a lot about what are the factors in their life that has gotten them where they are and stuff like that. And I think one of my biggest fears as a parent is what you say in Swedish, a curling dad.
Yeah.
We
don't have that term in English. So
it's from the game curling, when you sweep the
floor
before them.
Yeah.
Basically, you become the servant of the child.
Exactly.
A bulldozer before the child. So.
Yeah. You make everything even. Make it all easy for them.
Yeah, make it all easy so, they don't have to feel that any pressure or and it's interesting because in my job I can see that this is a lot of parents that are very caring, but it's they are too caring. It's there are no boundaries. It's over caring. So that's something that think about a lot. And when I studied the Bible this morning, because I was going to be here on the podcast, I just looked at all these passages about child parenting.
Yeah.
They're not that many, but it's interesting that almost everyone is about discipline.
Yes.
Almost everyone is,
Amen.
even in the Old and the New Testament.
Yes.
It's like everyone is about
Discipline.
discipline.
Yeah.
Discipline your child, because that's the way that God treats us.
Yeah.
Like, don't despise His discipline, because in the long run it will bear fruit. So that's what I want to get out there. Discipline your kids.
Yeah.
Don't abuse them.
No,
but,
no.
yeah.
But I think the whole discipline thing is like really important. And what it is about setting clear boundaries that you can actually hold, like the both of you.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something like people, discipline, I want my kids to be my friends. We want to, no. There's like certain things you don't want to be. You don't want to be friends with you want to be friendly with your kids, but not friends with your kids, because your job is to parent. Your job is to invest and to train and to bring up the child. That's what the Bible tells us. And I think one of the parts of that is discipline is not really so much about you being angry with the child as it is trying to help the child to understand there's consequences for their actions and to help them to start to think through the process. When I do this, this hurts someone else.
Yeah.
Or this is not good for someone, or this is not good for me. And so I think that parents who don't discipline their children, and I'm going to say this, and I know you people are going to write in, if you don't discipline your child, then how little love do you actually have for your child?
Yeah.
Because you're not really giving them a fair start in life. You're not making them a person that other people want to hang out with. So I think the discipline thing, I think that's like one of the best things you can do for your children actually, is to discipline them, that, and then to give them a sense of responsibility.
Yeah.
So it's the other anti-curling thing is to not just give them things, but to teach them how to earn things. So that way everything has a value and stuff like that. It's not they don't have this sense of entitlement that a lot of the young generation has nowadays, where they think like, I don't have to get a good grades in school. I don't have to work hard. I don't have to show up on time, but I expect to be the boss and get all the money with no qualifications and don't expect me to work either.
Yeah.
And so I think that those things, the responsibility and discipline helps children. Well, as always,
Time's short.
today's fika was apple cake, and I need to get down to my apple cake.
Apple cake and cinnamon buns.
Yes. And so, what did you say, cinnamon butts?
Bun.
Oh, I thought you said butts. I was like,
Bunch.
I was like, cinnamon butts. I'm like, yes. I'm not eating those. I'll try anything, but not cinnamon
I'll
butts.
try one. But
Try one butt. see how it tastes. Extra
try
flavor.
everything once. That's my philosophy.
So write to us. We love answering your questions. Vincent, thanks for being on our show today.
Thank you.
This is Edward Thomas and
Linh and tune in next time.
for Fika for Life.
Thank you for listening. If you have any comments or ideas, please send us a message to fikaforlife@mail.com. Fika, F-I-K-A. This was the Fika for Life podcast with Linh and Edward Thomas, and we hope to hear you again.